Now we're working actively with more than 90, I think, at last count, distinct projects that we could call Bitcoin circular economy projects. And that could be, for instance, that you hyper Bitcoinize a community and it just becomes the medium of exchange and unit of account locally, and therefore you don't need a Bitcoin.
And hello back to the Moon channel, and we have Scott. Scott from Federation of Bitcoin Circular Economies. We've done one show in the past, one of the first. So it's a massive pleasure to have you, Scott, again.
Pleasure to be with you again.
So
and we saw you in the flesh in El Salvador. So all that feels real to us now, not just
almost.
Almost, yeah, almost. So we're super excited to have you on the show. Just to echo Nasco, and we're really just anyone who's new to the show just wants to explain. We're going to be useful if you're interested in Bitcoin circular economies. If you're thinking maybe you ought to do something, could be very small scale. You've got to start, as they say, from get to 0 to 1. We're very enthusiastic about using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, so being used as money, as we believe Satoshi himself kind of invented the whole thing for us to do. So
it's right there in the name, isn't it?
In the white paper. It's in the white paper, peer-to-peer, electronic cash system. So if you're thinking about that, then listen on. We hope to have some tips, and we're going to focus on this show on the sustainability aspect. You may be very enthusiastic about a circular economy, but you need something to get through it all and to keep it going, and not just, it can be easy to give up. So we're going to try and focus on some of that and some of the learnings that Scott, been at the heart of the Federation of Bitcoin Circular Economies, can share with us all. Okay, so that's it. So, Nasco, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, what's the latest, Scott? Tell us what's happening.
I've been saying that 2026 is the year of the Bitcoin circular economy. I believe there's an increased level of attention to the role of Bitcoin circular economies around the world. Discussion around Bitcoin circular economies. What are they? What should they be? Some of it a little bit contentious in terms of should Bitcoin circular economies remain small and local? Should they scale? How should they scale? If they only remain small, are they a success? Are they a failure? But all in all, a tremendous amount of discussion about what circular economies are. To the same extent that, we talk about, the fact that Bitcoin is being talked about in legacy media at all is a success. Before it was, there was no discussion. At least over the last couple of years, there's been more discussion, not all necessarily favorable regarding Bitcoin, but at least it's being discussed. And being part of the conversation means that you're being recognized and you're a going concern, so to speak. So similar with Bitcoin circular economies, a lot of people are discussing them. Discussion in legacy media, more discussion at sort of more focused Bitcoin conferences around the world on Bitcoin focused media and whatnot. And that's a really good thing. I think that speaks to the fact that there's been tremendous growth in the number of Bitcoin circular economies over the last few years. It wasn't long ago that there really were only 2 or 3 Bitcoin circular economy projects around the world: Bitcoin Beach, Bitcoin Acacia in South Africa, and a few others, Arnhem in the Netherlands, and so forth, going back to, say, 2022. Now we're working actively with more than 90, I think, at last count, distinct projects that we could call Bitcoin circular economy projects. Found on every continent around the world, in a variety of communities, in cities, in rural, remote villages, in places where, like with you in Bulgaria, where you have a more robust advanced economy, higher, standard income and so forth, and, to poorer remote communities in the world. So I think it's both the scale of Bitcoin circular economies, the number, where they've grown, and the fact that we are all working together now as circular economies that I think has given visibility to circular economies, why they're getting noticed, and why there's this next level of conversation around what are they and what should they look like. So I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting developments over the course of this year.
I think for the first time we see something like training, by the way, and I would be really curious to. We are part of this thing, so we also participate. We have already had the first session, but tell us more, like what's going to happen, and what's the main goal of having these monthly meetups.
Mm-hmm.
And just to,
Yeah.
again, you may, I can of course tell about there were how many. There was quite a lot of circular economists that did receive the grant, and now they're into this program of mentorship.
Yeah, absolutely. So the what you're referring to is a sequence of six training sessions that we're conducting, the Federation of Bitcoin Circular Economies and Bitcoin Beach, as part of the second round of grants for circular economies, the Bitcoin Beach grants that were offered. There were something like 40 Bitcoin circular economy projects that received small grants in this second round, which were awarded just a couple of months ago. And as part of that process, what we decided to do was to implement a required training course for all grant recipients. The episode or 6 session training session is based on the modules or the chapters in the Bitcoin Beach white paper. And the idea was to not only provide small granting for the circular economy projects, but actually provide them a more formal support in terms of walking through the evolution of a circular economy and how to grow it, factors for consideration, ranging from how to develop a vision and mission, key components like onboarding merchants, what's the tech stack that you might consider for your circular economy and what might be the right tools based on different needs, as well as how you develop a vision for sustainability. Because that's something that we feel we really need to emphasize with these smaller community projects is that grant funding can only go so long and may not be there forever. So how do you develop a vision and a plan for sustainability? So that 6 session training course is being offered. We've gone through the first introductory session. The next one is about to be scheduled, and we're not making it available only to grant recipients. It's open to all Bitcoin circular economies, and the training is really part of a bigger vision and strategy that the Federation and Bitcoin Beach want to roll out related to circular economies, which isn't just about supporting existing circular economies through small grant funding. It's about providing the ongoing support, the tools, the networking that will help circular economies become more effective and sustainable. And so this includes ongoing network opportunities. It includes the Bitcoin Beach Fellowship Program, which they launched last year and now have had a few circular economy leaders participate in. It also includes the summits that we've hosted through the leadership of Bitcoin Beach. We hosted the first Africa Bitcoin Circular Economy Summit in Mauritius in December, and Bitcoin Beach just hosted the second annual global summit for Bitcoin circular economies in El Salvador last month in January in El Sonte in El Salvador at Bitcoin Beach. There's also a second Africa Bitcoin Circular Economy Summit that took place at the Adopting Bitcoin Cape Town conference. And these all form part of that larger vision of like, how do we make this movement more robust? How do we bring visibility to it? How do we support leaders within circular economies to evolve, to plan for greater sustainability through a series of supports. There's some other components to that are in the works right now that hopefully we'll be able to share over the next couple of months. But the idea is moving from this nascent, movement of small organizations where everyone's, just sort of learning from each other in an ad hoc way and learning through trial and error to trying to build in a bit more of a system and programmation and supports into the process to grow more methodically and for sustainability.
So you talk about a method there, a methodic growth. Is there some basics there of a method that are beginning to be formed in your mind? Can you share how you feel the stepping stones that people need to think about now as a method to make these things work?
Yeah, a few years in now, I think we've seen certain keys for success. One is that a Bitcoin circular economy project really needs to have leadership. Requires one or two or more individuals who are committed to the project, who are Bitcoiners truly, and who aren't going to get swayed by other distractions, be they altcoins or other distractions. Or really, the goal is to advance the adoption and use of Bitcoin in the local community, and that there's a passion for doing that. So having some leadership is important. We've also seen that a key, not necessarily a must for success, but a key for success, something we find as really grounded projects, is if they're built on top of an existing business or network or social impact project. So you may be familiar, for instance, with Surfer Kids in the community where Bitcoin Akasi is located. And so Bitcoin Akasi was built onto that existing not-for-profit program. What it does is it really grounds Bitcoin adoption and use in something within the community that already has visibility, respect, and you can demonstrate that Bitcoin isn't this, just this amorphous thing or that you're just trying to push, but that actually has a real impact in supporting and advancing something in the community that's having an impact. And so the Surfer Kids program there was a great example of that. We see other instances elsewhere. Or a business that you're integrating, or business model that you're integrating Bitcoin into. For instance, also in South Africa, in Witstrand, it's the network of local businesses really through their I'm not sure if it's a chamber of commerce or their business network who've really identified the need for this. And so it's been business driven there, and the community has responded. And so attaching Bitcoin education adoption onto an existing project or network is something that gives it grounding and legs for sustainability. Is another thing that we've found.
By the way, we'll leave.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll leave the link there. We had one of the shows we did was with Herman, and we were talking about Bitcoin Akasi, and one of the topics was sustainability. And there he shared that you cannot fully rely on donations because it's like a project. You get the donation and they're all done in 3 months, 6 months. And now what? What do you do? So this is why he's an excellent circular economy builder, where he has connected all these initiatives, businesses as well. And it's a real example how things should be working.
Absolutely. And that's the third point I was going to make is that, any organization that has a vision for sustainability, that's critical because, you can't simply rely on donations, whether they're grants or individual donations, et cetera, forever. That's got to lead to something that's self-generating. And that could be, for instance, that you hyper Bitcoinize a community, and it just becomes the medium of exchange and unit of account locally, and therefore you don't need a Bitcoin circular economy project to drive that any further, and so the project fades into the background. Or it could be that the project itself is driving some sort of self-sustaining business model. It could be by helping merchants exchange with each other. It could be helping, it could be helping merchants find new markets for their products. It could be developing new enterprises, maybe in a touristic area. That there's a business model that's developed where you're bringing new resources into the community, be they Bitcoin or fiat, and then that's helping to sustain the project. That there has to be something leading towards sustainability in place. So those are three key factors for success. I would say one other one before I forget to mention, for newer circular economies. Something that I think we continue to stress is that that projects should really resist the temptation to grow too big too soon, and that it makes much more sense, for instance, to have in a local community 2 merchants onboarded who are receiving consistent business and processing transactions consistently in Bitcoin than it is to have 100 merchants who only see perhaps one a week. It could also be a hyper localized project where it's a particular street or business district where you see that sort of concentration of Bitcoin related activity that you want to focus on, as opposed to trying to, take over an entire city, sort of thing. So to the emphasis on keeping it small, keeping it focused to begin with, building consistency, and then growing, methodically from there is another thing, because I think we've seen some ambitious projects that really have the vision of trying to orange pill an entire country and entire town, etc. Fine to identify that longer term vision, but where you start needs to be small, deliberate, and make sure that you're really building in consistency and slowly, slowly converting as many people to a Bitcoin standard or a Bitcoin equal Bitcoin and fiat standard as you are, just giving a broad spectrum of businesses, this very occasional interface with Bitcoin. So that's another.
I love the idea of a street, starts with a street, and there's a power, isn't there, of seeing the Bitcoin accepted here sticker on
Absolutely.
the venues down in a small street. Yeah. Doesn't have to be small, but a concentrated area. I think that's a really, really good tip, actually.
Absolutely, and it gives people a go-to place where I'm going to go to this district, this street, and I'm going to, pick up my daily fruits and veg, and then grab a pint at this pub and transact for all of that in Bitcoin, right?
I think that's a nice segue to slightly, as humbly as we can, to say this may be where Order Moon can assist some of these circular economies. Nasca, do you want to pick that one up? And in terms of
talking about all these concepts, it's about giving tools, as we already talked about. We're giving tools in the hands of the owners. We recently had, because as we all know, Wallet of Satoshi, I think it was like 10 days ago, something like that. They switched to self-custody. We know that they implemented that wallet already. But what happened is they turned off the custodial ones. So basically, we had in our city here 2 places or 3 places that were initially onboarded with Wallet of Satoshi. Then we moved on and we gave them Order Moon using Breeze, and it all worked perfectly. But what happened is suddenly the Wallet of Satoshi stopped working. So it was like a chance that I passed by and say, okay, did you try can I pay? Or she opened the Wallet of Satoshi POS and it didn't work. So you need to do something on the main one, and do so. But yeah, these tools, they're quite important to be, how to say that, convenient and easy to use.
Right.
And I think what's going to, I think this building this network. I was, of course, I'm in these sessions as well. there's an opportunity you can chat, meet other guys while while the training is happening as well. But probably sometimes, maybe even if it gets extended, not by the guests keep talking, but just talking between the circular economists, just to have the network effect. And yeah, so I think as we are tackling the main question is, what can we give in the hands of these businesses as a Trojan horse
Yeah, and I
to
think
make
the
them,
point is
yeah,
Audimoon has products such as Google Reputation Management, table booking, and a whole suite of products that restaurants
orange peel these guys by just giving them something really
they can have a product,
usable. Yeah,
and the local person on the ground can actually, over the period of time, accumulate via Bitcoin payments through Breeze, yeah, some fees to pay for these services. Because quite often you can just give them. We like the sort of freemium or free model to get
Yeah,
people going. You're
yeah.
getting these services, you're trying them out. They all work. We've been implementing these for many years here in Bulgaria, and we're quite keen to get. We're very keen to get some circular economies to push these
yeah.
out, because now we're making it easier for the actual merchants to onboard themselves with these products. But the local person, you always need a local person, don't you, or going around orange pilling. There
Yeah.
is a way that they can actually benefit from pushing out these products and getting more merchants on board and actually getting something back. And the profit motive is one that we're very keen for the organisers of these circular economies to plug into, because, as you
I
say,
think, yeah,
they'll be enthusiastic to start with, and then the grants will run out, and then what? Then what do?
I, I think,
You've
Lance,
got to
what you're
get into
saying,
a
yeah,
business that pays. I think.
I think the right thing to say, and probably I'll be very happy to have that session as well, and to talk with other circular economies, in order to start taking something, or in order to the right mindset, in order to plot them this orange economy, you need to give them something first. And the question is, what do you give them? Because some of them, they're not believers. Some of them, as we know now, they heard about Bitcoin. It's everywhere on the news. It's going down, crashing, going to zero. It's all over the place. But what do you give this owner who is suspicious? It's business. He's suspicious. What's going to happen with my money? Why should I risk? And then what do? You say, okay, no problem with you. I'm doing the photo session. I'm taking pictures. So if you want a proper, well done images for your Facebook page, I can do them for you for free.
Mhm.
Just start accepting the Bitcoin. And this is where the trade happens. Like, okay, am I going to risk like first 2 3 Bitcoin payments? How much gonna lose if I lose everything, if that goes to zero? But at the same time, I didn't pay for a session which is worth like $100. And this is where the transaction should happen. And this guy said, okay, I'll take the photos, I'll take that, and okay, let's try that. Let's try it. You gave me $100 already. Like I want to try whatever you're offering. I think we believe this is a good mindset to have when you start. What do you think? Like,
No,
is this
I
part of?
absolutely agree.
Yeah,
There has to be a win of some sort, an
yeah,
added value or a value add of some
yeah.
sort for them. I also think being honest with merchants adopting this is really important from the outset. That no, this is not, if you are facing a big financial gap in your business, adding Bitcoin is not going to cure that, going to solve that. So you shouldn't be looking at that this way. You should not be looking at this as accept Bitcoin, and within a year, you're going to be turning your small business into a franchise. This is not a magic cure for
Yes,
for for,
yes,
for anything. But
yes.
what you will get is a new level of visibility with an audience that's not only local but global, because Bitcoiners are very passionate about this. We like to share information about businesses that are accepting Bitcoin. We also have global tools that will add you. So if your business starts accepting Bitcoin, you'll find yourself on BTC Map. And people in South Korea will all of a sudden know that there is a business in this neighborhood in Prague or wherever else that accepts Bitcoin. And Bitcoiners share that information. Bitcoiners look to spend their Bitcoin abroad, and so you're accessing a global marketplace of individuals and getting global marketing for free simply by accepting Bitcoin. In addition to that, this will be an added source of revenue, and so if a Bitcoin circular economy project, an individual who's trying to get their business to accept Bitcoin convinces that person, then yeah, you probably will have some net new business come in. And maybe the best thing to do with that is simply consider that a bonus, right? To take that Bitcoin, hold it, and
Mhm.
here is the evidence that over a longer term, the value of Bitcoin appreciates. It is volatile. It may go down in terms of its exchange rate with the local currency, but over a longer time frame, it will, increase in value. We believe that, this is the future. You're just early, and as a business, you're early. So why not, as opposed to having to, start this from fresh, use your business as a way to get in on and get onto the train earlier. All you need to do is accept this and hold it, study it. And if you so decide, then you can start to use it as well. But as a minimum, just consider it another savings program for your business, your treasury. So I think some of the messaging like that, trying to make it as easy, low friction, low barrier as possible, and value add are important. And then really it's up to us, I think, as a community of Bitcoiners, Bitcoin circular economies, et cetera, to really patronize those businesses and try to channel people to those businesses so that, they can say, hey, over this first month, these first couple of months, we saw, 2 Bitcoin transactions per day. And then, maybe the following months it's 3 or 4 per day. And there's enough of incentive for them to say, okay, I might not, you know, I might not be orange pilled, I might not, but I'm just gonna accept Bitcoin, because it makes sense. I put it aside in my business's treasury, and I've now got 5 new patrons sort of per week that
Do
are
you?
that are walking through
Yeah.
my door who would have gone down the street, etc. So I think trying to keep it simple, trying to be honest with merchants, and then just making it as low barrier as possible. Those are really the keys.
I agree, and I think I'm fascinated to see or hear what's happening in the States right now with the Square.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
it
kind of
really.
exciting because that will spark off, call it what you want, but little circular economies, I think, because
Yeah,
it's so
absolutely. I
accessible.
think I think it will. I just posted a tweet, I think, or a message on X to that effect the other day. Is that what we might see here is just organically because of
Yeah.
the number of merchants accepting Bitcoin in certain areas that it just takes the right that right concentration and a couple of local Bitcoiners to say, hey, like we've got something here. And without even knowing that they're developing a Bitcoin circular economy, actually doing it just because, they wanted to spend Bitcoin, save in Bitcoin, spend in Bitcoin, and their merchants accepting it. And you just get a degree of circularity going. So I fully expect that we're going to see, more circular economies developing in the US and yeah, it really feels that with the Square program in concert with a lot of other educational initiatives and local Bitcoin meetups that something amazing is brewing even without the support of any political entities. Like we won't go there. I think that there far too many people are hanging their hat on the US government to provide favorable regulation and to open Bitcoin to markets, and I'm of different minds about that. What I think the really exciting thing in the United States right now is that level of local adoption, thanks to Square, the number of meetups that are happening, community initiatives like Bitcoin Park in Austin, Texas. There's one in Nashville as well that are really bringing some energy. The level of development um, that's happening. Yeah, and then to think what that all might conduce to coming together over the next 6 months to a year and a half. Should also add, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this, but really interesting program that was just launched. Have you heard of the U.S. restaurant chain called Steak and Shake?
Yes, yes, yes.
You've heard of Steak and Shake is a fairly large chain in the United States that's accepting Bitcoin. That was a great win last year, but they haven't stopped there. They announced that all Bitcoin that is received through payment at Steak and Shakes is going into their company's treasury. And they just launched, which will begin in early March, a new benefits program for all of their staff, whereby all hourly employees at all of their restaurants throughout the country will receive a 21 sat per hour top up. And this will be held in trust for them, and any employee that is with the company for 2 years or longer will receive that as a benefit. So in essence, it's an additional longer term benefits program for this huge cohort of hourly employees at restaurants throughout the United States that we'll see develop over the next couple of years. So I think all of these things together are really, really encouraging. They're setting an example of what's possible. And just like we saw, regardless of what you think about them, just like we saw a lot of companies copy or try to copy the strategy, MicroStrategy, Bitcoin Treasury Company approach, I think we'll see more and more businesses try to replicate what Steak and Shake is doing, and really leverage off of the advances that we're making in the States through Square,
it's really interesting,
and other programs. So yeah, quite hopeful.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic if they do. In fact, I'd argue more grassroots and beneficial than Bitcoin treasury companies. But let's see if we get a few more like Steak and Shake. Yeah. Maybe we can try and get something going here in Bulgaria with some of our contacts in that respect. Who knows?
It's thinking about that. If you're an employee in a company, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? Do you want shares or do you want sats? We know all the companies at some point of time they're going down for some reason. Well, you want the sats because you know what's going to happen with the sats.
Yeah. And it's not
cool.
a full-scale substitute for your fiat currency.
Yeah.
It's a bonus program.
Yes.
And it might take a few years to see the benefit of that, but just imagine beginning in March, even if it's a cohort of 1,000 people across the United States who are receiving 21 sats per hour of time worked, and then receiving that as a payout 2 years or more from now, we all know what's going to happen to the relative price of Bitcoin going up as adoption increases. As we hit the next halving in 2028, and it's having a diminishing impact, I think, on sort of the relative price, but I think still does have a sort of programmed impact on the price. So 2 to 4 years from now, when this cohort of 1,000 people, we can look back retrospectively and say that, okay, they've got they've got 100,000 sats, let's say, I don't know, accumulated over this 2 to 3 years, which has now quadrupled or more in value can really attest to the impact of Bitcoin and its potential as a as a vehicle to build better lives. I think it's going to be really exciting. So I think that's a really nice bread or cake in the oven, if you will, that we're gonna
Yeah.
see we're gonna see in a couple of years.
Nice. I
It's
like that
happening.
idea.
It will be
Good.
happening. Yeah. Good.
We better wrap
Uh,
up, I think.
yes. It was great to get the latest news on these circular economy initiatives. I think it's been fantastic. Do you think, by the way, one last question? Do you think there'll be? We understand like these grants, they shouldn't be considered as something happening every month, every year to those more circular economies. But what do you think in the future? Will there be more in general, like funds available for the big from the big Bitcoiners saying we want to do something for the community, we want to help
Yeah,
things grow? What do you
yeah.
think?
I'm not sure. I'd like to think that, given the visibility of Bitcoin circular economies, increased our understanding of what they are, there will be an interest on the part of other funding sources. I already know that there are a couple of funders, Human Rights Foundation, for instance, that have funded some individual Bitcoin circular economy projects. We've had discussions at the Federation of Bitcoin Circular Economies and with Bitcoin Beach and Bitcoin Akasi about whether we should try to pursue some sort of partnership with some of those larger donor organizations or individuals. Could be people with a big stack of Bitcoin that we could convince to donate 1 or 2 Bitcoin towards the growth and evolution of Bitcoin circular economies. All to be determined. I think for right now, what we're focused on is taking this tremendous growth we've seen in Bitcoin circular economies, right, from about 3 or 4 years ago to more than 90 now, and just saying, whoa, like let's slow down a little bit and let's try to help all of these programs, all of these projects to strengthen, to become more self-sustaining, and to optimize what they're doing by
Yeah.
networking with each other and listening. And then over the next couple of years, we'll explore what further opportunities there are. Which isn't to say that if an individual or a company or an organization happens to hear this this podcast episode, that they shouldn't go ahead and provide some support to one or more circular economy projects, or get in touch with us to see if there's some way we could do this. But just in terms of a more active pursuit of what we might do, it's probably a few months to a year off in terms of that. We're really focused on what some would call quality improvement now, right? And just trying to help all circular economies to improve, become more sustainable, and self-generating.
We got the quantity, now let's focus on quality.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Yeah, so thank you very much for taking the time.
Absolutely,
And
my
I
pleasure.
hope next time we have another chat, we'll be talking about, I don't know, there will be quality then.
Yeah.
we'll,
Well,
we'll
not to
get
say
the
there isn't
sustainability
quality
going.
now. I don't want to say there isn't
Yeah.
quality. We're not trying
Yeah.
to take something that's shabby or lackluster or lacking complete
Yeah.
quality to something else. It's just to say that these are community-based projects that are typically run by volunteers, etc. We want to provide some supports to help them become more efficient, to
Yeah.
learn from other projects, to sort of
Good
scale up their
practices.
capacity.
Yeah.
So it's not adding quality; it's quality improvement, right? It's just
Okay.
let's keep moving forward.
Yes, absolutely correct. Yeah, so do like the channel. Anyone wants to get in touch, just let us know, because we want to talk with different circular economies. We want to talk about problems they have, solutions, and initiatives, as we just had a chat with Scott. So thanks
And
a lot, Scott.
specifically, I just want to add, if I may,
Yeah.
Nasco, if you're listening and you have a circular economy, do get in contact with us, because we have this Trojan horse as a way of you actually earning some sats for yourself and for the restaurants to get real value. And we've got that all ready to go now. So, I just want to get that plug in for Order Moon's products. And Scott, thank you so much for your time, as always.
My pleasure.
Wonderful. Really enjoyed it.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.